Liverpool are now 2 points above reigning champions Manchester City. And in La Liga, Barcelona are sky high, 9 points above the rest. And then when we go to the best league in the world, Liga MX, Cruz Azul, if they can repel their demons once they make it to Liga, they will be Liga MX champions. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Football. I'm your host, as always, Gerardo. And today we're going to talk about the Premier League, La Liga, Liga MX title races, anything in world football. If you guys want to hear more, make sure you subscribe, you follow, check out all our links down below, help us get to 5K on all platforms. Yeah, let's just get right into it. Of course, we're going to start with the Premier League. A lot of big storylines and a lot of big upsets. We got Newcastle taking points away from Arsenal. Newcastle getting the win at home at St. James Park with a goal by Alexander Isak, who's on fire. And Newcastle are just a very difficult team to play against at St. James Park. And then Alexander Isak getting his goal, the only goal to give Newcastle the win, a very important win. I mean, for them, it really doesn't do much for the table, but for Arsenal and their title hopes, I mean, those 3 points are devastating. To not be able to get those 3 points at such a difficult place like in Newcastle. But Alexander Isak, he gets his 12th goal in the last 12 Premier League home games. So, I mean, he's on fire, especially playing in front of his home crowd. I mean, and what a signing he was, honestly, for Newcastle from La Real over to Newcastle. You would have thought there would have been a little bit of a struggle, but he's adapted very well into the Premier League, given he's so big and he's so technical as well. And, I mean, in the air, I mean, he's a threat, aerial threat, just like Haaland. And, I mean, you saw with the goal that he put up today, I mean, class goal, Anthony Gordon from the right side with the beautiful first touch cross into Alexander Isak, who dunks, I think, on Gabriel. And that's all they really needed. And for Arsenal, I don't know what happens. I don't know what's going to go from here. Like, there's some people already calling for Arteta's head out. I don't think that's fair, given that Arsenal haven't been in these kind of positions for quite some time now, challenging for top four, even challenging for the title. And they've been close. It's just unlucky, given that they're playing one of the most difficult oppositions in a Manchester City side that have won almost everything in world football recently. So I think they were just reborn in the wrong era. Maybe give it a few years when Pep Guardiola leaves. Maybe then Arteta can win something. But for now, Arsenal, it's not looking good. Are their title hopes over? I don't know. You guys let me know. In my mind, I think it's pretty much settled that it's over, because I think they have there's a 7 point difference between Arsenal's third and Liverpool now, who are in first. And that's a lot of points to make up. And it's a long season. I mean, I think we're only 10 games in. Liverpool can definitely drop points. Man City can keep dropping points like they did against Bournemouth. But Arsenal's fragility has just been far too exposed. And we've been seeing it in the past 10 games. It's been at least 3-4 games where we see how fragile their defense and their structure really is. And they don't have the same depth as most of these bigger teams like Liverpool and Man City do. So I don't know what's going to happen with Arsenal. Let me know what you guys think, if they're going to be even challenging for the title. Right now, it's just up to Liverpool and Man City, to be honest. It seems like a 2-horse race. And yeah, let's talk about Manchester City and their upset against Bournemouth. Bournemouth, who took points away from Arsenal just last week in a 2-0 win, and now taking points away from Manchester City at home. It looks like at Vitality Stadium, they're just a different beast. They are impeccable at home, and they are in good form right now. And I mean, they got some impressive players. I wouldn't say anything like star-studded, to be honest, not world class, but you can see that Iraola has them playing perfectly to his ideology, to his system, and they have fallen into his system, into his ideology, and they are performing it to a T. They are performing exceptionally well. And you saw it against Manchester City. It was really weird because Bournemouth, you wouldn't expect them to be more clinical than a Manchester City team. And to say that Bournemouth were the more clinical team when they're playing against Manchester City is just unfathomable. Like, that's just fucking weird. Like, who says that? But Bournemouth were the more clinical team. And really, the only 2-3 opportunities, they put 2 goals away. Manchester City didn't get one opportunity until like the 80th minute. And that was the first shot that they recorded on target. So they kept Haaland quiet. They kept Mateus Nunez quiet. They kept Jeremy Doku subbed on quiet. I mean, I think the biggest thing for Manchester City is the fact that they're missing their star players like Rodri and Kevin De Bruyne, who's on the bench, but he's just not fully fit yet to get any minutes. So I don't even know why he's on the bench if he's not going to play. But yeah, it's not going to be for Foden. He's not doing enough. It doesn't look like he's doing very well. Gundogan as well. He's got the assist for Vardiol, but other than that, there hasn't been glimpses of that Gundogan that we saw 2 3 seasons ago. But for Bournemouth, I mean, I said it in the last podcast. So if you guys haven't seen it, make sure you check out the last podcast. But Bournemouth are a team to definitely watch out for. I think they're going to be giving all of the top six a run for their money. As we already saw, they took points from Arsenal and now Manchester City. So, I mean, if they can do it against those teams, they can do it against anybody. Now, I don't know if they'll make it or fight for top four, but I think they can definitely be a difficult team. They will continue being a difficult team to play against. So we'll see what happens with Bournemouth. Manchester City, they're now 2 points behind Liverpool, who are in first place because Liverpool got their win. They're getting the job done on the other side. Very important for them because Manchester City dropping points, Arsenal dropping points. This is the point in time where Liverpool has to take advantage of these slip ups from the other two title contenders. And Liverpool did just that. Even though Brighton struck first, it was a beautiful strike from Kadioglu. Hits it first time, hits the pole, go in. It was a beautiful strike. While Brighton may have come out fearless, getting that first goal, trying to hold on to a lead, it wasn't enough against the Liverpool team, who are relentless in attack, and especially going into the second half, they were just putting so much pressure onto that Brighton. I mean, all of Brighton, almost all of them were in their 30-yard area. They couldn't even get out their own box. I mean, you saw Liverpool's defensive line were so high up, way past the halfway line, that they didn't even give the opposition any chances to come out playing, to even get the ball out, because they would always recover it right away. So Liverpool doing what they needed to do under Slot, and I think it was Gakpo that tied it from across, but Mohamed Salah, vintage Mohamed Salah, and he gives the lead and ultimately the win for Liverpool. And like I said, it was a vintage goal. It's what you expect from someone like Salah. He cuts in onto his left, he shoots, put it in the top corner, and I mean, you hear the roar from Anfield and you see what he posts on Instagram, and you're just thinking, like, this is a match made in heaven. Mohamed Salah and Liverpool, while he did great in other teams like at Roma as well, here, I mean, it's just he's a different beast. He is, since the moment he came, he's been a different beast. So he put Liverpool in the top of the table. He put Liverpool 2 points ahead of City. And like I said, Salah and Liverpool were just meant to be. He has slotted right in from the moment he got there, since that first season he arrived in. He created his history at Liverpool. And he is a legend. There's no doubt about that. He's a legend of the club. And it sucks to see that he might go, or to hint for him to hint that he might go. I mean, if you guys saw his Instagram post, he put, I will never, no matter what happens, I will never forget what scoring at Anfield feels like. You guys let me know what that means. But where would he even go? Where does Mohamed Salah go? I mean, he's done this so many times for Liverpool, where he gets them the win. He's the one that's on top. He's the man. He is what embodies a Liverpool team. I mean, where else would he go? There's no other team for him. I don't see him playing at a Real Madrid. I don't see him playing for Barcelona. I don't see him playing for PSG. I mean, unless he retires early, which is very plausible. But I mean, I hope not, because he's still 32 years old. He has plenty of football on his feet, as we can tell. So, where should he go? If you guys can answer me that question, where should he go? Where do you want to see him? Let me know in the comments down below. I think he should renew. I think he should stay. Maybe retire as a legend at Liverpool, or I don't know. We'll see what happens with him and Liverpool and that whole saga. But yeah, good 3 points for Liverpool, as they very, very well needed it. Nottingham versus West Ham, a 3-0 win for Nottingham. And this is the first time that they're in the Premier League top four for the first time since 1988. It's impeccable work that we've been seeing from Nuno Espiritu Santo, and his Nottingham team. And I think a big factor is Chris Wood's form. He has 8 goals, one of the top goal scorers in the Premier League, a 32-year-old who, I mean, there was rumors that maybe he was going to leave. Santi Jimenez was going to take his spot, or at least be a substitute for him, because Santi Jimenez was one of the young prospects coming out. But that never happened. Chris Wood has been the undisputed starter, and I mean, he's started off the Premier League campaign very well, and I think that's definitely boosted Nottingham to the top 4 spot that they're in right now. Will they be able to hold on? I'm not sure, because we already know with the Premier League, it takes a lot of consistency through a long period of time, because it's such a long season. It takes a lot of depth. So we'll see if their legs can hold down that far. But I mean, given what they've been showing, I mean, I can see them putting up at least European spots. So maybe top six, but top four is going to be very difficult. But it'd be cool to see a team like Nottingham Forest, a team that has two Champions League titles to their belt, back in the Champions League for after years. I mean, who knows? It's very early, but anything can happen. But yeah, this is the first time they have recorded three Premier League wins in a row this century. So I thought that was crazy to hear. Um, like I said, Chris Wood, his impeccable form is definitely what's helping this team. Unfortunately for West Ham, they went down to 10 men going into the 45th minute, and the last 45 minutes of the game, they had to play with 10 men because Edson Alvarez, again, for the second time in his third game, he just loses his cool. And in the span of 10 minutes, he just loses the whole plot. Lopetegui's clearly upset with him, and Edson Alvarez clearly knew he fucked up as well. He leaves his team with 10 men, and yeah, West Ham, it's not looking too good. For West Ham, they seem like they also cannot get a full 11 men on the field, especially if Edson Alvarez is starting right now. He's he's always subject to a yellow card or an incident where something devastating for the team happens. So we'll see what happens with West Ham. Lopetegui, I think this decline is it's really odd because under David Moyes, they were impeccable. They're a very difficult team to play against, especially at home. But I mean, even away right now against Nottingham, they would have performed better, I think, if they still had David Moyes. I don't know why they got rid of him. They brought in a guy like Lopetegui, who has not done really anything great so far, and you can tell, And given that all the money that they splashed in the summer market, you would have expected them to do a lot better. I definitely expected them to do a lot better. And I feel like if they don't pick up any good results by the winter, he's definitely out. So Lopetegui, you got to get your shit together for sure. Nottingham, they took advantage of the fact that they had their full 11 players, and yeah, they got 3 goals, and in the second half, I mean, there were some bangers too. So for Nottingham, maybe they can create some history that we haven't seen. So we'll see what happens with Nottingham. Now moving over to a very impressive result from Tottenham over a top 4, top 5 team like Aston Villa, who have been pretty dominant so far in this initial part of the Premier League season. And they were starting off very well. At Spurs Stadium, they had gotten the lead 1-0 from Morgan Rogers, I believe. And yeah, I mean, going into the second half, I don't know what Ange Postecoglou said. He must have been really upset, or he must have prayed all together with the boys because they just did a complete 180 from what we saw in that first half. And it's been really weird. I saw that at Spurs Stadium, they typically go down 1-0. I think against Brentford, they went down 1-0. Against Aston Villa, they went down 1-0. There's one other team that I might be missing, but it's not the first time where they go down 1-0 and then they just kind of flip the switch. And I mean, that's exactly what happened. 4-1, 4 goals past Emi Martinez, the best goalkeeper in the world right now, as he got the Yashin trophy. But yeah, they put 4 past him. And I think a big factor was Dominic Solanke and his form in this game specifically. He hasn't started exceptionally well to this Premier League season. 10 games, only 4 goals and 1 assist. And I understand that it's going to be difficult. I mean, you have to fill in the boots of a Harry Kane who, I mean, he's a legend for Spurs. He left his mark there. So there's a lot of pressure for a player like Dominic Solanke. But if we see that Dominic Solanke from last season, the Bournemouth version of Dominic Solanke, then I think that Spurs will be just fine, can even fight for top 4. Right now, I think before going into the game, they were like in 10th place, which is weird because compared to last season, when starting off in match week 10, they were on top of the table with 23 points. Now they're 10th place with 13 points. So it looks like they kind of went backwards. But I mean, if Dominic Solanke gets his Bournemouth version out, if he's putting up the numbers that he did against with Bournemouth, and he brings that to Spurs, and I think he will be instrumental to Spurs and their fight for top 4 for European spots, because that's definitely where Spurs should be, especially with the team that they have and the coach that they have and the way they play football. They do play entertaining football. It's just defensively they're in shambles, to be honest. But that's kind of what you get from a Spurs team. And then James Madison just putting the cherry on top with that beautiful free kick from I mean, really not that much space. He just kind of chips it over the wall, and yeah, puts in the top right hand corner. Emmy Martinez's top left, and it was pretty much over for Aston Villa at that point. Tottenham, they're cruising. They were cruising. Aston Villa really just, I don't know what happened to them. They did not look like Aston Villa. They didn't. This did not look like an Unai Emery performance. I think just Tottenham were way too good. Moving over to the biggest game I think of the weekend. Everyone was expecting this game to be a banger in Manchester United versus Chelsea. A game that ended 1-1. Really not much that went down in the first half. Everything went down in the second half. Um, Manchester United finally playing with a little bit of freedom. It looks like the shadow has been cast of Eric Ten Hag. He's finally, now that he's gone, now he's back in the Netherlands. It looks like there's like luggage just been removed from the players, from their shoulders. They look like they're playing with a little bit more freedom, a little bit more confidence. Who knows what Eric Ten Hag was doing in that locker room or at training, but under Ruud van Nistelrooy, I mean, so far he's gotten off his managerial campaign to the perfect start. He's undefeated. He has that one win against Leicester, the first time Manchester United have scored 5 or more goals in the past 3 seasons, which is the seasons that Ten Hag has managed, and they were able to do it with Ruud. So I mean, we already know that Ruben Amorim is going to come in, and I think he's a great appointment, a great young manager. But I mean, got to feel bad for Ruud because I mean, so far he's doing things very well. He's been able to get something good out of the players. I wouldn't say the best because the best is yet to come, hopefully for Manchester United, but definitely they do look a lot better. So Manchester United looking more confident, looking a little bit more consistent, and that's what you want to see from Manchester United. They're a team that deserve to be in the upper half of the table, which they are not right now. Chelsea, on the other hand, they're a top four. Um, and I think this draw was definitely a little bit more important for a Chelsea team rather than a Manchester United team who are looking for the 3 points at home. They still just cannot find that win at home that they desperately need. But I want to talk about that first goal, the ball that Casemiro puts into Hoyland, who controls it. Robert Sanchez brings him down. It's a penalty that Bruno converts. But if Casemiro is going to be playing like he is, and side by side with Ugarte, I mean, maybe we're going to be seeing that legendary version of Casemiro, the Madrid version of Casemiro, the one that has won like 3, 4, 5 Champions Leagues, and that was a pivotal part to that Modric and Tony Cruz midfield. Um, if Manchester United want to strive to greatness, they need a man like Casemiro to, with all his experience, with all his defensive capabilities, and even offensive capabilities or goal scoring threats. Because from he can hit them from afar, and he can definitely be a goal threat from any set piece as well. Um, if they want to fight and they want to make it back into those top 6 levels, top 6 contention, then they need Casemiro to definitely step it up, and he has been ever since that really poor performance that he put up like a month or two, where Manchester United fans were just kind of writing him off, saying that he shouldn't be playing for the club anymore. I think he's definitely turned things around. He looks a little lighter on his feet, and that's good for Manchester United. Chelsea really didn't show up, surprisingly. Just a few minutes later, after the goal that Manchester United scored, it was Moises Caicedo off of the volley that I think it was off of a set piece. It just falls right to him and he hits it off the volley. Um, he made it 1-1, and that was pretty much it. I mean, there wasn't anything crazy from Chelsea that said like they should have deserved the game, deserved the win. Manchester United as well. I mean, I wouldn't say that they definitely deserved the win. I think a draw was fair for sure. So 1-1 for each team, and yeah, that's pretty much it for the Premier League. Now let's move over to Spain. So before we get into the games, firstly, I want to pay my respects to all those affected by Dana. I know that people in Spain are going through a very difficult time, especially in Valencia, where everything is going down, all the hurricane and the flash floodings. I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen videos, but if you have, I mean, it's just terrible scenes. Really, it's quite sad. People haven't been able to evacuate on time. A lot of people have lost their lives. I don't know the exact number. I saw 60. I saw over 200. So I'm just gonna say anywhere between the hundreds at this point. And yeah, my respects, my prayers to all the people that were affected. Because all this went down, there was the game between Valencia and Real Madrid that was supposed to happen. Obviously, got postponed. There was another game that got postponed. I think it was Villarreal against, I don't remember who, but that also got postponed. And a lot of people in the league were saying that all the games should have been postponed, out of respect for the people that have passed away. Um, but didn't quite happen, unfortunately. Atletico Madrid did face Las Palmas, and it was a win for Atletico Madrid, a win that Atletico were desperate because they have not been convincing in the two biggest matches so far, in the two most big recent matches against Lille in the Champions League and recently in La Liga as well, losing 1-0 against Betis. And they really needed something from this game. And I think it was a lot more convincing. They looked a little better. Giuliano Simeone, Diego Simeone's son, who finally gets his first start for the team, and he gets his first goal for the team. And there's talks of favoritism, of nepotism, but it's not like he started off from the start every single game. He had to work for it, and I think that's what Diego Simeone has done very well. He's not given just the keys to his son to just go and play and have fun. And even if he's performing poorly or not, I think he's been performing well, especially the last two recent games off of the bench. And I think it warrants him a start at least. And yeah, I mean, off of the start, he gets his goal. He's got the opening goal for Atletico, and then Sorloth getting the second goal off of the bench, which is something that Sorloth needed because, I mean, on coming off of the bench, he has not been able to put up really those same numbers that he was doing at Villarreal, constantly missing open shots. So it's good for Sorloth, good for his confidence. Julian Alvarez, don't know where he's at. He was playing this game, but really didn't do anything. But for Atletico, this was very important for them. Now, will they be able to challenge for top four by the end of the season? Possibly. I'm not quite sure. Villarreal are doing very well. Osasuna are doing very well, but as we all know, for a league season, it takes a lot of consistency and depth, which Atletico do have. I think they just need a defender. I think they just need an extra defender for sure to help them out. But I think maybe top five for Atleti. We'll see what happens for Atleti. I think a game like this for Atleti will definitely give them a little bit of boost, a little bit of confidence, moving into the next few games. Because yeah, they weren't doing quite well so far. So yeah, we'll see what happens with Atleti. Now moving over to Barcelona versus Espanyol in the Derby Catalan, a 3-1 win for Barcelona. This game was pretty much wrapped up by the 30th minute. It was a quick 30 minutes of brilliance. Um, After a magical week where, I mean, they beat Bayern, they beat Sevilla, they beat Real Madrid. Now, another important game, but I mean, it wasn't going to be a real test because Espanyol, I mean, they're probably relegation favorites. They just got promoted last year. And yeah, Barcelona were ruthless, of course, against a team like Espanyol who didn't threaten them whatsoever. I mean, they technically got 3 goals, 2 of them were disallowed. But Barcelona, I mean, they're they're not going to drop in form anytime soon. Doesn't seem like it. I mean, all their players are in impeccable form, impeccable shape. They all look like in good health. I think. I mean, there was a few rotations here and there, but nothing really crazy. I mean, if yeah, for Barcelona, they're on fire. They're almost coming off of the bench. I mean, he started the match. He got a brace. Rafinha adding to his goal scoring tally, just consistently scoring every single game. But Espanyol at least held their own. At least they didn't get scored on 4 times like other teams, which I will not mention. But I mean, Espanyol did hold they held their own. Um, and even the coach said it. Their coach was saying that a lot of people were probably expecting them to get scored on like 7, 8 times, and they didn't. So I think in his eyes, they'll probably take it as a win, knowing that they're playing probably the best team in the world in Barcelona right now. Now moving over to the best league in the world, Liga MX. I mean, we're kind of going towards the end of the season. There's only a few. I think there's only a couple of games left in the regular season before we go to the Liga. So a lot of things are moving in the table. A lot of teams are moving up. A lot of teams are moving down. Only 2 teams still have the possibility of those play-in spots, and that's Leon and Puebla. But will they make it? I'm not sure. It all depends on the bottom half of the table. But let's start off with Cholos versus Tigres. 2 teams who are essentially safe. Cholos a little less than Tigres, but after this win, I mean, Tigres, I think they should be good. I mean, at least for top 6 to automatically qualify. They're in 3rd place right now. They have 2 very big games against Toluca and Cruz Azul coming up next. Cholos, they haven't been able to get a result for the past few games. So I don't know what's going on with them. I had them as one of my underdogs, but now I'm kind of regretting that decision for sure. But Tigres, they get the 3-0 win. There was no Andre Pierre Guignac, which was quite odd, but there was that speculation that because they're playing on turf, in a place like in the Caliente Stadium, it's very difficult field to play on because of the artificial grass. It's not real grass. So yeah, they probably wanted to rest his knees because he is an older player, and they have two very big games that can possibly boost them to second place and a better standing in the table overall. So, I mean, we'll see what happens with Pierre Gignac. So he didn't even fly with the team at all. So there's also the rumors that he had a fallout because he wasn't starting with the head coach. So I don't know how true that is, but I guess we'll see what happens in the next few games if he plays, if he's even there. Why was he left out? You guys let me know because he didn't even fly. So I say they're just saving him. Let me know what you guys think down below. But yeah, they definitely needs to watch his minutes. I mean, we already know that. I mean, all the big teams in the world, they try to take care of their star players, especially when it comes to when they have big games coming up. You don't want to risk them for games that, you know that the substitutes will perform pretty well, and that's what happened. I mean, Nico Bañez, he got his lick. We got Marcelo Flores scoring off of the bench. We got Chicha off the left getting an assist. Brunetta getting a goal as well. So, I mean, the players are doing what they need to do, especially the young players coming off of the bench. So, all good for Tigres. And they really needed that because they have not been performing too well in the recent few matches. They got that loss against Mazatlan recently, the loss in the Clásico Regio as well. So, Tigres with a big statement win in a very difficult stadium like Caliente in Tijuana. Now, another statement win from a team that has just kind of resurged again. They've revived themselves because it looked like all hope was lost for America. It looked like the Tricampeonato wasn't really gonna be plausible. It wasn't gonna happen this season. But they're now, I think, in the top eight, not automatic qualification, but still repechaje, I believe. But yeah, in a place where in Mazatlan, where it's very difficult to play because I mean, no team has been able to get a win in Mazatlan. They're Mazatlan at home; they are unbeaten still. Even though there are a lot of draws there, I mean, they did just beat Tigres, who we already saw that they beat Tijuana 3-0. And but when it came against an America team who finally, in a moment of high pressure in the past few weeks, they've been getting the positive results that they need. And we know with the team like America, you cannot count them out. I never truly counted them out, but yeah, when you put pressure on a team like America, they typically respond. They don't really fall into that pressure. And I think what definitely help is the recovery of these key players at this stage of the season. I mean, you got Fidalgo coming back, you had Jonathan Dos Santos coming back, Zendejas, who has been back, I believe, for the past few games. And these are all players that are influential to the starting lineup. And they definitely give America that balance, especially going forward. They give them a little bit more threat going forward. And that's what they needed. We see Martin getting a brace. We see Zendejas getting a goal. We see um, Brian Rodriguez scoring his goals. I think Aguirre getting a goal. So it was just goal after goal, 5-0 win, a statement win for America, kind of just letting people know that even though it is against Mazatlan, but hey, look, we're back. We got our players back. Be prepared because we might make that run for the Tricampeonato. So, America fans, let me know if you feel like that can happen. If that will happen, will America get the Tricampeonato this season? Will they create history? I mean, they've done their 180. They've resurged and they look like they're seriously threatening to take those points away, to take that title away from anybody that was aspiring. And I know they're looking at Cruz Azul for sure. And gotta feel bad for Hugo Gonzalez, the ex-America goalkeeper. I mean, I'm sure Mans is traumatized right now, probably seeing yellow in his nightmares, seeing Henry Martin in his nightmares. I mean, I just feel bad for sure. And now moving over to El DF in a game where Toluca and León faced off. I think probably the best match in Liga MX this weekend for sure. In a 2-2 draw, León, who were up 1-0 and then 2-0 60 minutes later, I believe. But 1-0 in the first half, and it was all good for Leon. It looked like they were able to hold on to that pressure. They were performing well. I mean, you had guys like Guardado. I mean, he was finishing plays with Rabona style finishes. I mean, they look like they were inspired to really get into those play in positions, and they still have the possibility to do so. They did get a draw, so it's not like they lost. But I mean, when you're up 2-0 eventually in an hour into the game, I mean, you should be able to see out the game, but they didn't. And I know it's very difficult against a team like Toluca at El Nemesio 10, where the stadium is just, I mean, even a lot of European players like Paulinho have said that it's kind of like a European style stadium, or the fans are very. It seems like you're playing in Europe because the fans are very loud, very active, and yeah, they did their part. Paulinho for sure did his part. He got a brace, and I want to talk about him because there's no doubt that he is the best player in Liga MX. I think the best signing so far. I had Giacomakis as one of the underrated best players in Liga MX, but Paulinho for sure. I mean, he's just stands out as the best player. I think he has 12 goals, 5 assists in this campaign in just like 15 games played. So very good numbers for sure. The 31-year-old Portuguese. I mean, it's not like he's not in his prime anymore. It's not like he could have not still been at Sporting. Um, Even though Victor Gyökeres is doing things very well over there, is probably the best, one of the best forwards in the world. But I mean, he probably Paulinho probably wasn't going to get the same amount of minutes of numbers this season. So it's good that he made that move to Toluca. And I mean, I think he can become a legend for Toluca if he keeps up this kind of form. We know that players of this age can definitely perform up until like 37, 38, like we see with Andre Pierre Gignac. So maybe he can become a Toluca legend. Maybe we can see that happening. Um, and like I said, it's not like he's washed. I mean, last season with Sporting, he had 26 goal contributions in 47 matches. So he's not. It doesn't look like he's going to stop anytime soon. And the way he started this season, I think for the next few seasons, it's going to be racking up numbers. Could easily get into like the hundreds by the time he wraps up his career in Toluca for sure. So Toluca, they get a draw. It's good for them because they didn't drop points, because I think that would have been devastating to drop points against a team like Leon, and especially because you're going to face Tigres up next. Yeah, it's not going to be good for Toluca if they drop 3 points. But a draw, I guess, is fair. For Leon, definitely shouldn't be dropping. Definitely shouldn't be letting points slip, especially when you're already up 2-0. Especially when you got teams like Puebla who are pushing for that final play-in spot. Um, they have the opportunity, but they need to beat Mazatlan. They need to go to Monterrey and get a result there, and then also hope that Atlas drops points, which is possible. But I mean, you're not really depending on yourself at that point, and that's not what you want. And then going to the league leaders in Cruz Azul versus Santos, a Santos team who are mathematically out of contention for playing spots, really not playing for anything. So hopefully they can get their act together. They have a new president, a very young president, and yeah, hopefully for the upcoming season they can kind of start to fix things and move into a better direction for sure. And for Cruz Azul, I mean, they're in impeccable form, and it doesn't look like they're gonna stop. They're a máquina sin frenos, and I don't know how anyone's gonna stop them, because they are definitely the best team in Liga MX, maybe the best team in the CONCACAF region, given the way that they're playing. I mean, they are on a mission for revenge after what happened last season in the final against America. I'm sure they're probably hoping that America gets into those top spots so they can play them and get their revenge on the same team that they lost to. So that'd be honestly awesome to see. But every player has stepped into their role under Anselmi. I mean, you have players like Jorge Sanchez scoring bangers. Angel Sepulveda, who's one of the best Mexican goal scorers in Liga MX. He's tied with Henry Martin at 8 goals. And it's crazy. It's a crazy time, because who would have thought Jorge Sanchez would be scoring goals? Who would have thought that Angel Sepulveda, the player that, I mean, he was doing so good at Querétaro, um, really at Cruz Azul hasn't done much up until this latter half of the season, where he's kind of just off of the bench, or whether he's starting, he's scoring braces, he's scoring goals off of the one touch. Really, he's showing that he can be deadly inside of the box. So yeah, I think Anselmi has just revived this team, has given this team the confidence that they need to get their Liga MX trophy this season. I think they definitely deserve it, given how they've played all season. Um, and they're in the best run of form going into the year. And really, I mean, it's gonna suck to see if they're not able to get their revenge. If they're not gonna be able to get that trophy at the end of the season, because they definitely deserve it. But let me know who you guys think is going to win Liga MX. We have two more games left in the season, and then we got the Liga. So it's kind of starting to shape up towards the end towards the end of the season right now. But that wraps up everything in the world of football, at least in the Premier League, La Liga and Liga MX. If you guys want me to talk about more or a variety of different topics, please let me know in the comments down below. I'm here for you guys. I'm just trying to put in my perspective on the way I see football and the way I see things. I appreciate if you made it this far into the video. Make sure you please subscribe, like this video, comment, and check out our other links to our other social media platforms as well. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out. Thank you.